Hello, and welcome to episode 26 of the Digital Suffering Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Steven Something.
I'm PhamtomLimb.
And we've got an action-packed episode for you today. First up is a demo that I came across for a game that's going to be released soon. When I say demo, it's like the sort of first section of it. The game's called Fragile, and in it you control a 10-year-old girl who gets kidnapped, and then you have to escape. You get imprisoned in this like mine, and you have to solve the sort of puzzles in order to get it. It's a sort of 2D adventure game where you can move left, right, and you can interact with items in the background and stuff. If you sort of skip, you can skip forward. She moves very, very slowly, not like your average action protagonist.
Not like your average 10-year-old girl.
Not like your average 10-year-old girl who always runs everywhere at full pace. The game is very atmospheric. It seems to be set in some kind of Eastern European or thing.
Or thing.
You know, sort of Russia sort of thing. There's Cyrillic in there. There's no voice. There's voice acting in that. You know, the characters do sort of like emotive sounds, but there's no speech. Yeah, that sort of thing. So your character gets captured and put in a cell, and the first objective is to escape from it. Then after that, you encounter other kids who are also in prison. It turns out that some kids have gone missing in this town, and they've all been put in this mine, and you have to like help them escape and stuff. It has, as adventure games go, it has like sort of puzzle things. They included sort of puzzle games. There's one section after you escape. You go. You're crawling through this tunnel.
Spoilers, kids.
Spoilers. This is going to be spoilers. If you want to play this game, just skip ahead to the next section. There'll be time codes in the description. So there's one part you meet this mutant. That is described as a mutant in the article that links to the thing, sure. And it's kind of like this like large adult with like part of his brain exposed.
I remember it looking a little bit like Gollum.
Yeah, it's a sort of
in the stills.
Yeah, it's like a Gollum. I think it's just like. Okay.
Which is kind of weird.
And he's blocking your way, and he sort of gestures to essentially you have to play this game to beat him. I don't know if you've...
Yeah, just like in The Hobbit.
Yeah, but the game is like a dice game, so you've got these like bones with 4 sides, and you roll it, and when you get... there's the sides are labelled horse, sheep, donkey, goat. And if you get horse, your piece advances forward once one place, and so whichever horse moves to the end wins. And so they got this as part of the randomized mechanic. You have this like roulette wheel, and you spin, you move a bar which spins the wheel, it gives power to spin the wheel. And so for the most part you spin it and it's kind of random. And the first time I played it I lost, and the golem beats you to death, and you have to you get put back in the cell, and you have to replay this.
What the hell?
The thing it's like a randomized dice game essentially in your puzzle game. I was like, what the hell? Eventually you can
get stuck on that for a while.
I had to play through it like 3 times I think in the end. What's it called? You can cheese it by if you move click on the power bar, the spin thing. If you click right at the bottom, literally pixels, you can control how much you spin the thing. So you can advance it like a quarter of a turn or half a turn. Mm-hmm. And I'm like clicking.
So essentially, you're moving it one space at a time. Right?
Well, essentially, you click on the bar.
Yeah.
And that indicates how hard you're spinning the wheel. And eventually, you click ever smaller increments to try and edge the wheel in a controlled fashion. And the main consequence of losing is that the game takes so long because you keep missing. It takes like minutes and minutes and minutes, so that you have to beat this, because otherwise you have to go through it and do it again. And it just seemed like really out of place, because instead of like something, I think, when you click 5 pixels or 10 pixels on the bar just so you can get a controlled spin, to cheat the game. Essentially, I don't think that's the mechanic that the developer intended.
It's kind of janky.
But that's the thing. It seemed, and the losing, costs you progress. You have to go back and go through the entire thing again, and it just seemed completely out of place in what should be a puzzle game. And later on, okay, well, anyway, you get past this, and then you get into the main part of the mine. You come across a child imprisoned, and he says that you have to get him a key to get free. And so I was like, okay. So I walked, and immediately the guy, the jailer, who's like way off screen, he's down the corridor, spots you because you're invisible. He comes over, punches you out, and the game ends. And I was like, what? So I had to go all the way back to the beginning. Or it took me back to the cell. I can't remember, but it super punishment. I was like, what the hell? It sent me back to... No, sorry, no, it doesn't punch you. Sorry, it sends you back to just after the golem scene. So you come in, and essentially you have to walk down the length of the corridor crouching, because he's like watching a little portable TV at the desk. So you walk past him, you go all the way to the far end, and you find it's blocked, and there's a chute where you can escape. But you need two people, one to pull the chute open, to pull the flap open, so the other person can escape. So obviously you need to get the cooperation of this child. So you come back and you find that the guy who's been watching the TV, he's now asleep at the desk. And if you walk over, during one of my playthroughs, I stood up because I thought he's asleep. The moment I stood up, he woke up. I got caught. Don't ever stand up. So third playthrough, I go through.
It sounds like it's got BS mechanics.
It's the thing is, you literally have to.
Trial and error.
It's trial and error, but you have to play it like the safest ever. Anyway, so you walk to the desk, and there's an action thing. You action it, and then it looks like you're searching in the guy's pockets, and they have like the screen's black, and the hand where you got a large hand icon, and by the hand there's an illuminated part, so you can see outlines of objects like a pen or magnifying glass or chain. There's some banknotes, and you have to like move the hand over the screen and try and discern the outlines and see which is the key, and then you obviously click to pick up the key, and you take the key from the pocket. And I was like, okay, this looks like the key. Click, and it shows the hand. You got the key. Congratulations. The guard wakes up, punches you out, and he goes. The demo ends and goes, coming soon. And I was like, well, that's some way to like welcome me into the game. I was like, what the heck? I saw another clip was called in the article. It showed someone had like taken the scissors from the pocket instead. And I'm wondering if you like take a different object, maybe you can like, I don't know, shank the captor or something. I don't know. That doesn't seem in keeping. But the game ends. I think the demo ends regardless of what object you take. But when it took the object thing and cut to the guard looming over me and then knocks me out, it gave me just such a jump. It was because I was not expecting it. I was expecting, okay, now I go over to the kid, unlock his door, and go on to the next part. Not, oh, congratulations, you've completed the thing. But it was very atmospheric. The game is incredibly atmospheric.
Do you know why the game ended?
Yeah.
Because you suffered so much head trauma, you actually died.
Yeah, so the game does a very, very good job of making you feel powerless. Compared to most other games you play. Even like adventure games where you go, oh, well, you got a puzzle wrong, there's very little consequence. Here, I wouldn't say it's punishing, but it's you definitely want to avoid all the bad outcomes purely because the game punishes you with having to do the thing again.
It's all a setback, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, the jump scares that the jailer gets, when the golem that you fight you encounter when you lose against him, and he just goes insane and then just starts pounding on you. You're like, what the hell? It's I found it very involving. So look forward to that. It's coming out sometime this year, I believe. I don't know. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Next one up is Monster Hunter Riders. Not your traditional Monster Hunter game. It's a turn-based monster collector. Essentially, all the monsters that you fight in the regular game. Here, when you defeat them, you can collect eggs and then raise them as pets, which is like totally in keeping with the spirit, right?
Christ. You know, when you say initially, what popped into my head just then when you said not your traditional Monster Hunter game, a lot of weeb losers think that Monster Hunter World isn't your traditional Monster Hunter game.
It's not,
and actually hate it because of that. And there are little things like you have to craft your own pickaxe in order to mine the material, the gemstones throughout the world.
So they've added more.
So they've just made it more playable and less grindy and less like obtuse in its own particularity.
People want obtuse grindiness,
and people have like literally thrown their toys out of the pram.
Well, there's this. Oh, I don't want this. I'm getting refund and stuff like that.
Like, you know, this isn't a real Monster Hunter game because X, Y, and Z. Because I feel comfortable and I like to play it. I don't feel punished all the time. Anyway, I won't go to that. So that's what popped into my head when you said not traditional. But this is Pokemon Hunter.
Yeah, the whole collectible thing. Now, the question is an interesting thought. If this does well, and people go, collecting monsters, imagine they add it as a mechanic in Monster Hunter World 2. That you can, not only killing monsters and collecting body parts, but you can harvest the eggs and raise your own little pet, and perhaps even use them as companions in battle.
You can get a mount in Iceborne.
Yeah, but this is but this thing is called riders, and I assume they ride the monsters in this game. So have it as a full blown mechanic. You want to ride in on a Devil Joe. You want to ride into battle against Devil Joe on a mini Devil Joe? Why the heck not? You
bought me a little pickle lunch.
Kill your own kind.
That's what they call him, the murder pickle.
Just like you dismount and you're like dodging it, and then it just sits there and goes, what? And it goes, chomp. My mount! I spent months racing that. Okay, give me some eggs. I'm going to raise another one.
The murder pickle ate your pickle.
How would you feel about that? Would you care? Would you like?
No, I don't think it would bring anything to the gameplay. All it would do is complicate what's already fairly. It's involved enough. You don't need.
But you could always be more involved.
No. But you see, traversing the landscape, they'd have to change the way it is if they went that route. Thank you, Minerva. You'd have to change the landscape.
Yeah.
Because traversing it now, you've got the hook shot, you can climb vines.
It's all designed for human traversal.
Exactly. It'd be like having a wheelchair. You'd need to have ramps everywhere so the monster could climb, and then.
Or they'd have to have secret crevices or design have the mount, so the mount could then scale like rocks and stuff.
Have you seen Devil Joe's arms? He's like a T-Rex. He's got these tiny little fork like hands.
Maybe they have it so that you particular mounts have better access to. I don't know.
It would be bad.
I'm sure.
The terrain in the previous Monster Hunter that came out on the DS and mobile,
yeah,
I'm sure it'd be a much more flat, forgiving landscape. Well,
they could, design convenient valleys and stuff. They say, okay, if you wanna go by, on foot and hookshot your way across the landscape, you can go the direct route. Or if you want to take your mountain, there is a way, but you have to detour through this dangerous canyon, and there are chance of encounters.
That's fine if you were going from A to B, but you're chasing after a monster, you're tracking it constantly.
Yeah.
So
you need to follow it.
Exactly. So it's
flying mounts. That's the solution.
I'm just going to helicopter there.
Yeah, that's it. So it solves the problem. But then once the thing is, everyone would just use a flying mount. The rest of it would be just collectibles, because it's like, well, they're great and all, but they literally can't help me achieve my objective.
Yeah, it would be a bad idea. Monster Hunter World would not benefit from it. It would suffer from it.
Do you reckon this is something Capcom would do anyway?
If it made them money, yeah.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. You mentioned that you were considering this for Shell, but you were thinking of the other one, Stories, Monster Hunter Stories.
Yes, yeah, Stories.
But
I just didn't like the mechanics, because she plays Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
So I thought a mobile version.
Yeah, just
keep her in the game, while she's travelling to and from work and so on.
Okay.
Lunchtimes.
We need is Monster Hunter World on the Switch.
Hopefully that will never happen. But there's Monster Hunter, what is it, Universe or Monster Hunter, I forget what it's called. Anyway, it came out after Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
And that was like a full-blown Monster Hunter title, but it was on the DS. So we saw this game, Stoneshard.
Ah, yes, Stoneshard.
So my brain wants to call it an action RPG, but my eyes want to call it something else.
It's a RPG top-down roguelike something, but it's the movement of the characters is very much like Crypt of the Necrodancer, if you've ever played that game or seen it, except that it seems to lack the whole tied to music theming. Instead, it's turn-based in that you hop around, but without the rhythm or the charm that Necrodancer or even Cadence of Hyrule bring to it. It's like, imagine playing those games but muted, so there's like no sound, and then you take away the rhythm bar as well, so you don't. It's harder to time your attacks. I don't know.
It's basically they were too lazy to do any animation. So they drew the character and flipped it in Photoshop.
Yeah.
And then, and it's not exactly like, the Sistine Chapel, this game. It's, what?
It's from 8-bit.
16-bit best?
16-bit best, yeah. It's your average 16-bit roguelike, top-down, isometric RPG, Soulspawn.
Don't say that. And it's basically like, we're going to dispense with any animation in even the attack is literally you bouncing your 2D sprite into theirs.
Yeah. Well,
and then it flashes.
It saves on
it saves on man hours, because this game it was knocked out in a week.
Now the question is how many people did Stoneshard? If it's like a small dev team, then it's shortcuts.
It was 2 people using RPG Maker from Steam.
Let's have a look. We got a website.
Ooh, so have M&M's.
12 is better than 6. Right, let's see. Is the website any... what? There's no content here. There's no about or anything.
I mean, the game doesn't actually look bad. I just wouldn't, from what I've seen, there's, you can forgive games certain things, but sometimes I like, things to happen. I like good animation. That's why I don't play Mortal Kombat. I like involving gameplay.
That's why you don't play Mortal Kombat.
That's why I don't play Mortal Kombat. I like, and I don't mind 16-bit, 8-bit graphic style.
Yeah, it's an artistic choice. It's fine.
Exactly. I'm currently playing through Blasphemous. It looks great. It's doing the whole action RPG thing with the equipment upgrades and dungeon crawling, but there's 10 other games I could play instead of this.
Yeah, there's lots of games. I mean, but the thing is, it's just, I find it the turn-based thing just jarring. That it seems like a bit of more of a weird shortcut, because it's turn-based, but
is it turn-based?
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Well, why would it be?
I think it's dynamic. I think it's just...
Yeah, but it's like I said with Crypt and Necrodancer, they are turn-based. Mm. If you don't move your character, the enemies move. Everything that happens, each beat is one move. So whether you move or not is still a choice. So you can stand and wait for the enemies to come to... But then when you move and attack, each of those takes one turn.
Yeah, but this ain't that.
I know, but it's like that. It just seems... The thing is, it's like... Why would you have it grid-rooted like that if it wasn't?
Yeah, I mean, even the movement looks janky.
But that's it. That's what I'm saying. It's turn-based.
It's currently under £10 on Steam. Fill your boots, kids.
Give it to your to the people you love.
Why?
Stoneshard is a challenging turn-based RPG, so it's turn-based.
Fair enough.
Well, I'm Ink-Based Games. Send us a review copy. We might not like it.
I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon.
Okay. Right. Next up, we have
Iron Danger.
Iron Danger. Ah, yes, Iron Danger. I'll let you introduce this one because I'll just call it like Soulspawn again.
Just to trigger.
Just to trigger you.
So imagine a game that's a 3D isometric game where you can move the camera, pause time,
Okay.
and then attack at will.
Yeah.
Within the pause time. So I imagine
You can stack like attack queue. You can queue attacks while you're paused.
Yeah, so it's a bit like if you imagine the original Fallout game.
Yeah.
Or even the first two, I think, were basically this. But obviously much more rendered. It looks good for its part. But you've got a timeline at the bottom of the screen under your skills bar. And that governs what's actually going to happen and what has actually happened. Which means, obviously, like Steven said, you can queue your attacks.
Yeah.
But it also, and the mechanic that they're resting on, and I do say this because it was advertised as such.
It's the USP.
Is you can rewind time and undeath yourself. That's my phrasing, not theirs.
Yeah, so literally, you throw an attack. Oh, you didn't get crit in that? Rewind. Throw it again until you get a crit. It'll take a long time.
There might be abuse like that, because as far as we've seen, there is no draining of any resource to do that.
Yeah, it just... You literally just move back and forth on the timeline at will. The thing is, the gameplay looks very stilted because you're literally... The player in the footage is like running through like 1 or 2 seconds at most, then pausing again to do the next thing.
Yeah, this can't be the optimal way of playing this game, surely.
Is this like turn based almost? Literally, you queue up. Remember John Wick Hex?
Yes.
You queue all the attacks,
yeah,
and then let it play through. Is it not like Diablo where you click to move? Literally, and then you just press buttons to attack. It's literally...
Yeah, but this you're not even queuing the sequence, really. You're literally playing the sequence, but in stop motion.
But it's the thing is, you're like hands off. You're switching, but it
looks awful. Gameplay perspective. This looks like what you do to develop a game, not to play a game.
That's right. It's like dev tools. You're like pausing it. If you were, making an in-engine CGI cinematic. Yeah. These are tools you do, right? Okay, I'm going to rotate. No, this didn't look good enough. I'll rewind and have my character go this way.
It reminds me of editing video. It really does.
It is just like creating an in-game cutscene, but that's the game.
Yeah, I'm not. And this is like, we've seen the current trailer, and we're looking at pre-alpha footage as well. I mean, they're resting on the you can rewind time if you die. So in the instance of the trailer, it shows a fatal blow. They're in a dungeon scenario. They run around the corner. There's more enemies than they could cope with. They get killed. Insert rewind.
Yeah. And
then they play things out differently. That is not the way to play a game.
But the thing, this is sort of, Katana Zero might argue with it. But this because that is also on that. But the thing is, it's action sequence, and if you screw up, you rewind. Whereas here, it's like you are literally messing with time constantly in order to say, right, I would need to optimize my routes and stuff.
Seems like a crutch.
Well, no, it just seems the problem is it makes the gameplay so stilted.
Yeah.
That you're like constantly. The sequence we watched was probably about 30 seconds of action, but about 2 minutes,
3.5 minutes,
of actual navigating, through the choice, rewind, do a different choice, rewind. Because the thing is, the character didn't die at any point during that sequence, but they did rewind multiple times in order to optimize their route or to do the thing, and that's just. I suppose you could say, right, you say it's got like hours and hours of gameplay. You just have like one level, and because it would take you so long to work through, you just have it really difficult because they would just be rewinding all the time. I've been playing this game for 100 hours. I've almost finished the game. You're still on level 1.
I've almost beat the first dungeon.
Well, then you just have the next dungeon is DLC because it will take them hours to beat that as well. It's an interesting idea, but the rewinding time mechanic it doesn't seem like it's implemented. It seems that it leans on it far too much. That reminds me of something else I sent you, between episode called first-person shooter called Quantum League, which is like time rewinding taken to the absolute max. So I'll explain to it what it is. Imagine a first-person shooter. You run around, you shoot people. But what you can do is you can rewind time, and so you send your character back in time, and then when they arrive, they're in the match, and the other character from the previous timeline essentially plays through the sequence of events because that's already happened. But you can then interact and change the past.
Yeah, so you're basically splitting yourself from one reality.
So what you could do is you could run up to the enemy, flank them on the left, rewind time, so you're back to the starting point, and then flank them to the right, and then shoot them from both sides. And how does that not break the game into a million pieces? Because they're also rewinding. It would just be like a rewind time race. Because the moment I'm about to die, you rewind time. No one ever dies because everyone would be just going back to the start.
I think I said to you, who's controlling that dead version of you or the alternate previous version?
From what it looked like, it seems that the previous timeline version of you plays out what the events that they did. But the thing is, imagine they got shot because your enemy goes back in time and shoots that past. Does it erase you? Do you have to protect all your various timelines?
No, you can't have to protect it. It's only the current.
Yeah, only the current one. Yeah. So then you treat them as time clones. But then what you do is you spray fire in an arc, go back in time, spray fire in another arc, and just create a wave of millions of bullets.
Yeah, but that's not going to work long term because if your previous character only was alive for 30 seconds and you stay alive for 45 seconds, their sequence has effectively ended.
Well, that's it. It's like, I suppose they disappear after the thing, and you just keep rewinding back till the level fills with hundreds and hundreds of your copies.
Yeah, I think there's a screenshot or a bit of gameplay that you sent me.
Yeah.
Where there is literally 7 or 8 versions of.
It's an arena, first person arena game, but it's 1v1 and I think 2v2 because any more than that. And it would just become
a clusterfuck.
It would become nightmarish. I don't know. I definitely would love to get my hands. I'd love to try it, just to see how brain breaking it is, because it sounds like something that would just go. You'd be like, wait, who am I shooting now? Because there's 6 of them. It's okay, I'm gonna go back in time.
One for the future.
Torchlight. I want to bring up Torchlight Frontiers. Was in a closed beta for the longest time. They went a completely different direction to Torchlight 1 and 2. They had zones whereby you had equipment progression per zone. So legendary gear you got in one zone would be not as legendary in the next zone. Player base was very vocal about certain things. And the Torchlight developers have walked back. Torchlight Frontiers is no more. It's now Torchlight 3. Zone progression is gone. You now have linear progression. All the zones are progressed in storyline order. And Torchlight 3 is very much like Torchlight 1 and 2.
Yes, very much back to its action and RPG roots.
The problem is that it's kind of a shame that they caved into the pressure, really. Because the thing is, they really needed to shake up, because otherwise it becomes just another action RPG, isn't it?
You know, I don't disagree, because I play a lot of them.
Yeah, and that is a crowded market.
At them, like, seriously, in the last 12 to 16 months, 18 months, there's been more action RPGs than there had been for the 5 years before it.
Stoneshard is one of them. You covered one in this episode. So,
like, honestly, I've never seen a glut like there is.
And the thing is, when it becomes just a straightforward sequel to the other two, it loses something that could make it stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, maybe not the things it was leaning on, though.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a popular choice, but at least it was we're trying something different.
You said we've lost one of the very particular characters that was...
I believe that the Railmaster characters, they're streamlining the characters so they follow the more, archetypes of whatever, the DPS, the more straightforward classes. Sure. I believe at least the Railmaster, I don't know if the steampunk robots will survive thing. I've not... Even though I've got a key for it, I've not bothered jumping back in.
Did you play much or?
No. I think I got while I was. I think I didn't get a key for the closed beta. Then they opened it up, and now here's a key. So now I can get into it. But now it's like kind of ordinary. It's like it's just Torchlight,
Yeah, but you should play it. There's probably mechanics in there.
Yeah, maybe I'll have a think about it. See if I've got time. Maybe I'll have a poke around.
Also, an NDA on it that.
Oh, that's right. There is an NDA. So technically, I wouldn't be able to on the show. I wouldn't be able to discuss. I wouldn't be able to discuss.
Oh, even discuss. Not.
Yeah.
It's not just footage.
Well, nothing. But the thing is, if we talk about it, I'd have to double check the NDA. But definitely no video or pictures. But the thing is, if I start describing mechanics. It's like, if you watch a video and they say, this character has like a beam cannon for a left arm, and then you say, no video of that. But if I describe it, then that's kind of violating NDA, don't you think?
Probably.
It's like,
that's dark territory.
So it's not so. It's like I'd still. I mean, there's no point. If I investigate, then I'd have to wait for the NDA to clear. I might as well wait for the NDA to clear,
sure,
and then jump in. And say,
yeah. I just
and by that time, it's
either way. Also, the game is probably in a constant state of flux because they're balancing things.
Well, that's it. They have to rejig all the zones so that the difficulty matches gear progression and story progression, and they're introducing new ones. The beta is going to go on at least till the end of the year. I think it is. I think they're obviously hoping to launch soon because they've lost so much time in development.
Well, it's like 2 years now, isn't it?
Going the other way. They're going to want to at least get it into early access so they can start getting revenue to fund further.
It is also something that they did back. They backed. It's the traditional model. One purchase, you get the game.
Yeah.
Not what Frontiers was going to be was an trickle based. You buy cosmetic.
It was the free to play,
kind of like in the
vaguely
in the model of Path of Exile.
Yeah, it was something similar to that, which would have had they stuck with it. I mean, the system that system works. Path of Exile is very successful for what it is,
but they do something that almost no one else does, and if you imagine a finished if it is ever considered finished, a finished title that constantly has a season that has a thing constantly.
Yeah, it's
like content dumps.
Technically, it is finished, but that they add content and they update it.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas
so it's ever changing.
There's no other games that really do that. I mean,
Fortnite as a thing. Fortnite is close to that.
Exactly.
Where it's a game as a service. Yeah, literally.
Exactly. But if you get like the traditional model, I think only Diablo, and that's nowhere near as content-y dumped.
Yeah, you need audience. Yeah. You get the massive influx of money, and you can say, well, next content will be out when it's ready, and you can afford to do that.
I'm still surprised that Blizzard have the attention to keep going back to their games. That's the one thing. Doesn't matter what you think about Blizzard, they support their games. I mean, they're updating Diablo 2 ladders.
They updated Warcraft 3.
I also read a thing about Warcraft 3 that they're offering a refund.
Yeah, they
no quibble.
Yeah, they turned around and said, yeah, we're not going to offer refunds. Apparently, what's good. I saw something. They dumped like a near 2 gig patch for the game. I haven't read up on that, so I don't know how much of the problems it fixes. But like so soon, it's like, oh, here's 2 gigs of patch to fix things. I don't know whether it will quell all the dissenters, whether it will put a dent in Blizzard's
I think
bank statements.
I think ultimately. That the long and the short of it is, people have rose-tinted glasses or rose-tinted view of how Warcraft was.
Yeah.
Blizzard did exactly what they said they were going to do and remade the game in high res.
Yeah.
And people don't like it.
Yeah.
What a shocker.
Well, the thing is, I mean, there are things that they that's another podcast.
I don't think I want to even go any further into that.
We'll skip that podcast. How about that? Or we just won't record it.
Yeah, we'll just say it out the window.
Yeah. So summarise Torchlight. It could have been something different. It could have been something different, but it's now another action RPG.
I don't mind that. I wasn't on board with what I saw and read of Frontiers. I was not going to buy.
Yeah. Would you consider looking at it now that it has become more traditional?
Yes, but
Diablo 4 is coming.
If it's in the Diablo 4 has no
launch
time scale attached to it. And moreover, they've actually changed the system since BlizzCon already.
What, the mechanics for?
The item progression. And that was in November. So
it'll be a long time.
And this was a month or so ago that they announced the change. So there are only changes ahead.
You'll have plenty of time to play Torchlight.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, how far away is Torchlight? You said the beta probably till the end of the year, maybe.
It seems from what I'll have to double check the thing, but they want to beta it a lot. Well, they've got to, but they are looking to. I think, from what I recall, they were hoping to launch by the end of the year.
So
a something,
maybe 2021 release.
Yeah.
Right. I don't see Diablo 4 coming out for
2022. At
least a couple of years.
Yeah.
At least.
Okay. But in the meantime, 1,000 more action RPGs will rise up.
Well, I'm still waiting for Lost.
Excellent. Lost Ark.
What the hell is it called?
You have to... Okay,
so many.
Let me guess. It's an action RPG, right?
How did you know?
Give me something that's unique about it. Or one of the words that features in its title.
Well,
is it one of the titles that makes no sense? Has nothing to do with the game.
That's right.
Because that's what happened.
Last Epoch.
Oh, Last Epoch.
Right. They've been thankfully because
which one's that one?
We mentioned it way back because I jumped in to the early access.
Yes,
and it wasn't expensive early access as well, right? But I thought there's something here.
Yeah.
And they have continuously for the last 4 or 5 months been updating it and refining it and updating it and refining it.
So you're almost ready to play.
And so I'm hoping that's going to be the next. I mean, there's Walson as well, which again I jumped in.
You weren't very
probably almost 4 years ago.
You didn't sound very complimentary about Walson's current state.
I think the way they're developing it might not be the best way to develop a game, where they've put in story dumps and FMV sequences at the beginning of the game. So they've changed the kind of impetus of the character, right? But I don't care about that. Give that to me when the game is done, when the mechanics are done.
Yeah.
Because the version I played at that point when they had put that in still wasn't nailed. It wasn't nailed down. And people are itching because the game's been in early access for so fucking long.
Yeah.
4 years, practically.
But they've got to make it the best action RPG because, Torchlight 3 is coming.
And, I mean, if you, my criticism is obviously from a certain perspective. I know Diablo, I think the development cycle for Diablo 3, for vanilla Diablo 3, was 5 to 7 years or something.
Wow.
And the development time for Path of Exile, if you consider when it became open beta to where it is now, it's
continuous.
It's, you're looking at 8+ years.
Yeah.
So, trust me, I know what I'm talking about, and my criticism is scaled against those because they're probably the two best examples of an action RPG that works.
I see these action RPGs, these bigger ones, they're becoming like single-player MMOs in terms of content and development time, isn't it? That's what they are, really.
Well, they've kind of bridged the gap on the
MMO. They're at the kind of the halfway house.
Yeah.
But compared to what they were in the past, where you'd open the box, you get your install media, you put in install on the computer, and you play it, and you're mostly done. To where we are now, where it's like we have seasons or we have continuous upgrades and further development, and the game, they lock you into MMO style, almost a subscription perhaps to keep you in the game for as long as possible.
Oh yeah, you regularly see people on the forums for both those games say, I haven't played in a year, can somebody bring me up to speed?
Yeah,
because I look at it and it's a different game now.
Yeah, he said, look, delete your existing character because they are not, you're going to waste time getting them up to spec. Start from the beginning.
Yeah, it's there are you see that a lot.
Yeah,
and some people don't even understand the changes that have gone through skills, and they're just like, this isn't even the same skill anymore. My build doesn't work.
Yeah. That's it. It's like the MMO I played. They did a balancing thing and then broke some of my skill sets. It's like, ugh, do I even want to play this anymore?
Yeah, every time they patch the game, you got to check. You got to check your build still works.
It's like, right, build number 6. Okay. Yep, still killing things. Right, build number 7. Nope, broken.
Yeah. Oh, it took out the multiplicative factor that makes my X, Y, and Z do so much damage.
Now I only do single-digit damage.
Yeah, now it's them separately added together and not multiplied by each other. And you're like, what?
Now I'm poking them with a wet sponge.
And lastly, the thing that has had you on tender hooks for almost a decade
has news, and I didn't really even know about it. Yes, Phantasy Star Online 2. I think it's 2. We're on 2, aren't we?
It's 2.
It's
version 2. Version 2.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's the beta has finally accepted people.
On the Xbox?
On the Xbox. I don't have an Xbox. Microsoft sent me a sample units. So people have been playing it, and it brings back...
People have been playing it after trying to get onto the server
queuing
for hours and hours. I saw yesterday, as I said to you earlier, there was 6 servers, 5 of which were closed. The 6th was full.
Yeah.
And that went on for hours.
But we as I said, between pauses, even if they had all 6 servers up, they'd all be packed anyway. Because
yeah, I genuinely think they would.
The game has been, there's been anticipation long enough that people would be itching to get their hands on it, and it looks like everything I expected. Really, it's Phantasy Star Online.
It hasn't. I mean, it's not the graphical powerhouse of modern games.
Well, 2012 it launched originally.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but it doesn't look bad.
No,
by no means.
It's like a console action RPG, which is what it is, and the brightly coloured neon graphics, the sci-fi aesthetic, lend itself very well to it. It doesn't need to be much more because it gets the job done.
You know what the graphical style reminds me of, and this is in no way a criticism of either game.
Go on.
Especially what we're currently looking at. Bayonetta.
Yes. Yeah. The very but Bayonetta's also got the very, very brightly lit stages and stuff.
Ornate enemies.
Yeah.
They've got detail in their own right.
Yeah, I love the enemies in Bayonetta. Or the angel aesthetics, the faces everywhere. Love that. Makes you wonder. The thing is, it's going to have. They said it's going to come with all the content. It makes you wonder how many hours worth playing through there's going to be in that, because I took a break from Neverwinter, the MMO, got back into it a few 2-3 years later, and there were so many campaigns added that it would take me several years of playing constantly to go through them all. Not even, and I don't think that's even to catch up to where they would be, because obviously they've released at least 1 or 2 campaigns since I last looked at it.
Sounds like Warcraft.
Yeah, and it's like there's not enough hours in the day just to play this one game. Am I going to boot it up, go through the menu and go?
I'll tell you something.
Too much.
Somebody mentioned the size of the game on the drive. 70 gigabytes.
Wow.
And considering we know for a fact that it isn't going all on graphics.
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah, the 70 gigs of map, of model.
That's a lot of gigabytes.
Yeah. Flippin' heck.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, no, but content is good. It means that, you are going to get value for money out of it, as long as you like this style of gameplay.
And if you're considering an Xbox as well, even if you've got like a terabyte drive, that's still a lot.
Yeah. But then again, what's Destiny take up? Destiny's was 100 gig or something?
Yeah. I think Destiny 2 was around about 100 gig.
Yeah, sorry, Destiny 2, yeah. And it's like 100, consoles, you go back a generation, consoles, that was your entire drive from the console.
At this point in my life, I'd probably rather play the original Phantasy Star on the Dreamcast than ever play Destiny 2 ever again.
Yeah. You mean, well, I think Phantasy Star Online on the GameCube was the better iteration, because they did perfect it to fit the netcode. But yeah, I know what you mean.
No. What I said was what I meant.
I'd rather play version 1 of Phantasy Star Online 1 without the additional content.
That came out 20 years ago, kids. 20 years ago.
That's appalling.
I would rather play that than Destiny 2.
Really?
Had my fill of that game.
Phantasy Star Online, it looks to be good. Looks everything I'm expecting. I'm hoping that...
you said it's coming out on PC, right?
Yeah, it's coming out on PC, but the thing is, what they could do is just beta test the hell out of it on Xbox. Say, okay, it's ready. Then launch on both, and then patch the PC. So, well, if you wanted a good experience, you'd have bought an Xbox, wouldn't you? I remember reading something that there was rumours that it might come out on other platforms later. Sega might publish afterwards or something. I'll have to double check that.
I could see it in my mind's eye being on the Switch.
Because it's supposed to be coming all platforms eventually or something.
Okay.
But we'll see. Yeah, I mean, for the Switch, this would be perfect.
It'd be ideal, right?
Yeah.
You don't need super high res and the
part
you play.
Yeah, it runs. It's designed for a controller. Anyway, looking forward to that. Hopefully, PC development soon. Anything else from you?
No.
Okay, then I think we'll wrap up with the F Destiny, and we will see you next time. Good night.
Keep suffering.
That was the Digital Suffering Podcast. If you'd like to suffer some more, you can find other episodes on Red Circle, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Radio Public, and SoundCloud. Please like and subscribe everywhere.